The fluorescent lights of room 207 hummed, a familiar backdrop to the quiet murmur of a Monday morning. Mr. Harrison, a history teacher whose passion for the past was only matched by his patience, stood by his desk watching his Year 9 class settle. But his gaze kept drifting to the back row, to a desk tucked away in the corner just beneath the window. There he was again, a boy, quiet, still. He looked about 13 or 14, with dark, neatly combed hair and an old-fashioned, somewhat formal school uniform that seemed a shade too dark for the bright classroom. He never spoke, never moved much, just sat there, his eyes fixed on Mr. Harrison with an unwavering, intense stare. Not menacing, not curious, just fixed. Mr. Harrison had first noticed him about a month ago. One Tuesday morning, he'd done his usual attendance call, a routine roll call of names, punctuated by the rustle of papers and the occasional sleepy yawn. When he reached the end of his list, he glanced up, expecting to see a full room. And there he was, the boy in the back row, a quiet, unlisted presence. At first, Mr. Harrison thought he'd simply missed a name, or perhaps a new student had transferred without the usual paperwork. He made a mental note to check with the office. But the next day and the day after that, the boy was still there, always in the same seat, always with that silent, unblinking gaze. And he was never on the attendance list. Mr. Harrison checked, double-checked, triple-checked. He even discreetly asked a few colleagues if they knew of a new student. No one did. He tried to catch the boy's eye, to offer a welcoming nod, but the boy's gaze never wavered from him. It was as if Mr. Harrison was the only person in the room, the sole recipient of this profound, wordless attention. The other students never seemed to notice him. They'd walk past his desk, talk amongst themselves, seemingly oblivious to the still figure in the corner. It was uncanny. It was unsettling. It was, in its own quiet way, profoundly lonely. Days turned into weeks. The boy became a silent fixture in Mr. Harrison's morning history lessons. The stare became a part of the classroom's quiet rhythm. Mr. Harrison found himself instinctively looking for him, a strange, almost unconscious anticipation building before each class. He tried to approach him once, after class, to ask his name, but as he walked towards the back row, the bell for the next period rang, and the boy, along with the rest of the class, simply melted away, leaving the desk empty. Mr. Harrison found himself standing alone, a lingering sense of unease in the quiet room. Today, October 26th, the feeling was stronger. The stare felt heavier, more insistent. Mr. Harrison was halfway through explaining the causes of the Industrial Revolution when he faltered. He looked at the boy in the back, truly looked at him, and felt an inexplicable pull, a sense of knowing something he couldn't quite grasp. The boy's eyes seemed to plead, to demand. He took a deep breath, pushing past the professional detachment he usually maintained. "Excuse me," Mr. Harrison said, his voice cutting through the gentle hum of the classroom. "You in the back row." The class paused, a few heads turning, looking at the empty space beside the window. But the boy was there, his stare unwavering, perhaps even intensifying. Mr. Harrison felt a name bubble up, unbidden, from somewhere deep inside him. It wasn't a name he knew, yet it felt utterly, profoundly right. He spoke it aloud, clearly, firmly. Thomas. Thomas Miller. The words had barely left his lips when a piercing, shrill shriek tore through the air. Not the familiar end of period bell, but the unmistakable, terrifying wail of the fire alarm. It was sudden, deafening, an unholy cacophony that jolted everyone from their seats. Chaos erupted, chairs scraped, students cried out, the orderly hum of the classroom dissolving into a frantic rush for the door. Mr. Harrison, his heart pounding, barked instructions for evacuation, ushering his class out, his mind a blur of alarm bells and flashing lights. As he was the last to leave the room, he glanced back at the desk in the corner. It was empty. The boy was gone. Outside, the school grounds were a flurry of emergency vehicles, fire trucks, sirens blaring, pulled up, their lights strobing. Students and teachers huddled together on the playing fields, wrapped in the cool October air. The principal, her face pale, was on a walkie-talkie, her voice strained. Mr. Harrison stood with his class, trying to calm a weeping girl, his thoughts still reeling from the sudden, inexplicable alarm. No smoke, no smell of burning, just that piercing shriek. A drill? An accident? Then he heard a fragment of conversation from a group of older teachers nearby. Can you believe it? 20 years. 20 years. The words struck Mr. Harrison like a physical blow. October 26th, he suddenly remembered, not from his time at this school, he'd only been here 5 years, but from the local history archives he'd once perused. A devastating fire, 20 years ago, a terrible day when the old North Wing had burned, trapping students and staff. A few lives lost. One of them, a year 9 boy, last seen trying to help a friend, had never made it out. His name? Thomas Miller. The pieces clicked into place with a horrifying, sickening precision. The old-fashioned uniform, the unwavering, unseeing stare, the other students' obliviousness, the quiet presence that only he could see, and the fire alarm sounding precisely when he had called out that name, that lost name, on this precise tragic anniversary. Thomas wasn't a new student. He was a memory, a lingering spirit caught between the past and the present, forever attending history class, forever, perhaps, for acknowledgement, for release, or simply to be seen. Mr. Harrison felt a cold shiver, not of fear, but of profound sadness. He looked back at the school building, now silent except for the distant chatter of responders. The fire alarm had stopped. There was no fire. There was only the echo of a past tragedy, finally heard, finally acknowledged, 20 years to the day. In the days that followed, the school conducted investigations. The alarm system was found to have a malfunction, an inexplicable surge that triggered the evacuation. But Mr. Harrison knew better. He knew it wasn't a malfunction. It was a cry. He still teaches in room 207. He still glances at the back row. The boy hasn't returned since that day. But sometimes, when the light catches the dust motes dancing in the corner, Mr. Harrison feels a faint, lingering presence, a quiet understanding. The past, you see, isn't always behind us. Sometimes it sits right there in the back row, staring, waiting to be seen, waiting to be heard. And sometimes, when it feels like it's been forgotten, it finds a way to sound the alarm, to remind us that some stories aren't just history, they're still unfolding. Have you ever felt a connection to a place or a moment in time that felt inexplicably personal, as if something from the past was trying to communicate with you? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. And if you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing for more tales that explore the mysterious intersections of history and the human spirit.